to JJ Food Service for organising this event again this year. Regulars will know that there's been a subtle change to the branding for the event. So it's no longer just women in fish and chips, it's women in fish and chips and friends. And I have to say, as a keen advocate for women in the workplace achieving parity with our colleagues, our fellow colleagues men, I think this is a really important change because we aren't going to get there on our own. So I'm delighted to see that it's now a fully inclusive event, and I look forward. I've always got a lot out of these events, and I'm sure I will again today, as I hope all of you will. A special thanks go to the speakers. We've got some really great speakers here today who have achieved enormous things in their businesses, and it's very generous of them to give up their time and share some of their secrets with us. So I would encourage you to sit back, relax, and with your notepad in hand, and take as much as you can out of these next couple of hours. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our first speaker, Kaylee Herbert, from the wonderful Harlees on the south coast of England, down in Dorset Pool area. I've just been away with Kaylee's dad for a few days, not in that sense. It was actually a study tour to Norway with a few other people as well. It was great fun. And, I met Kaylee several times before, and I see her passion and the family's passion in fish and chips. They run an incredible operation, which they are growing. I think you're going to 9 this week, are you not?
Yeah, that's correct. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll be opening our 9th.
So here she is, giving up a couple of hours of her time to be with us today, and on the brink of opening her 9th outlet. I can tell you, I wouldn't like to be competing on their doorstep with them. I'm glad that I'm at the other end of the country. So I'm going to hand you over to Kaylee, who's going to tell you about how they run their business. Thank you very much.
I'm Kaylee. First of all, I just want to say, sort of echoing that, thank you so much for these events. This is the second one that I've been lucky enough to participate in, and I just think they're fantastic for sharing. I get a lot out of them, so thank you so much to Elliot and the team. It's just fantastic. So we're a chain. We were lucky enough to win the multi-operator award this year, which was fantastic. We're a family business, so it's my mum and dad. They started the business 25 years ago, and I've been with them for the last 5 years. And today, I want to just talk about some of the things that we're focusing on that I think others might be able to help, at least sort of open up your mind to some things. What we do works for us, but it may not work for everyone, but hopefully it will just inspire some ideas going forward. So the things that I want to focus on that we've been looking at recently is how we're maintaining our prices, which is really important, especially now, and how we're venturing into the casual dining setup. So first of all, I'm going to start with the pricing. Now, pricing, this is me when it comes to pricing. I'm sure everyone can relate to this. It's really important that you get your prices right. It always has been. But since the pandemic and now into the living, the crisis, we've been changing our strategy a little bit and how our mindset has changed post-pandemic on how we're pricing. And I think this will be really good to share just how we're getting through and how we're coming to things a little bit differently. So before the pandemic, pricing has always been important. We are a business, but before the pandemic, we were changing our prices usually on an annual basis, and we'd review the entire menu, look at our invoices coming in, and do an annual price change, usually an increase, and that would be set then for the year. And when we were doing that, yes, we were looking at the price, and the cost of the raw materials, but more was weighted on what was the competition around us doing, what was the general consensus within the industry of what things were costing, what people were selling at. And our strategy has changed since the pandemic to focus on the profit margin more and using that as the major weight. We do also consider the other things, but we have changed our mindset on that. And with the pricing, there's always going to be that fear, have I said it correctly? Have I gone too high that the customers are going to vote with their feet and just not turn up? And you know, the sleepless nights that come with that. And then you've got the other possibility that you're trying to be competitive, but you're going too low, and have I gone so low that I can't keep my business going, I need a bigger footfall. Am I getting that? So there's always going to be that stress when it comes to pricing. But I think being able to clearly reason to yourself how you've come to those decisions will bring a bit of peace of mind. And it also gives you a better understanding of the business of your, the health of your business. So it's something that's what we've been focusing on. Obviously, to start, I'm fully aware that we are a chain, so we are completely different to an owner-run, owner-operator shop, or a single shop, or a smaller chain. There's wider factors that do come into the pricing. Gross profit margin, it isn't the be-all and end-all. So this is my way to say, yes, you need to think of the other things that are involved in your pricing, but perhaps just look at what you're weighting your decisions on a little bit. So for us, we're going back to the basics. What the profit is, the gross profit margin is. Before coming to within the fish and chip industry, my background wasn't in business. I'm a scientist. So if you give me a percentage, I work on a percentage. And I think that's something that once you understand, you get. But I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but just make sure you're using the right percentage and really thinking about that when you're thinking how much I'm gonna price things at. Again, these calculations, they look scary, but there's calculators out there. The link that's on the screen now, I can put in the chat. And again, that's really good that you can do quick calculations now. You can just go on the internet and quickly see if you're looking to bring in a new product and you want to do back of a napkin calculations. These are out there and they're really useful, and we actually use them quite a bit. So it's worth knowing that they're out there. So how we've changed, up on the screen now is an example. I've put an example in of a sandwich shop just to keep it neutral, but obviously JJ Food Services is our supplier. And how we've changed is we now have a Google sheet with all of our prices in. Now, this is really useful because it gives you a clear, quick shot at what's going on with your prices. Now, in the past, and some suppliers are really good at notifying you when there's going to be a change, but they're going through this change in prices as well. Sometimes things get missed. So what we're doing is really monitoring the invoices coming in now more regularly. Again, another thing that is different for us that has really helped is that we've invested into the digital menu boards, which means instead of doing an annual increase of everything, we are now monitoring on a regular basis our raw ingredients and then making change little and often, because we can do that, and we're not paying for posters. We can change it quickly in real time. So again, that's really helping us keep to where we need to be to keep our business going forward. So how we're using it is, so this example is a sandwich shop. I just went on there, making it neutral. It's a sandwich shop selling a half sub coronation chicken with fries and a cheese and onion filler. Again, this is how we do it. Not everyone has to do it this way. You can just use the calculations that are on the internet, the calculators. For us, using Google Sheets, so you can just get a quick look and it's really easy to see the differences, really helps for us. So what we do is we put all of our raw products, everything that we use, into the first sheet. And again, for us, to make it simple, we are putting packaging in there. That not many people do that. For us, we do that because unlike labor costs, where you will pick up somewhere else along the line, I feel like packaging was kind of getting skipped with our pricing. So having it in there means that we've definitely got it. And although it's part of this calculation, actually it's a buffer for any other hidden costs that we may not see. Again, that's just something to bear in mind. That's what we do. So taking the example further, once we've got all of our raw ingredients, we start building the dishes. Now, in these two examples, I've got a sandwich with a bit of salad served with fries. So here we're adding all of the portions, all of the raw materials together. And again, this just gives us a bit of flexibility on how much. So if it was here, we're pricing out as a half sub, where if we were doing a full baguette, we can increase the units to 2 to get that price in there, and it just makes it a lot easier. And then from there, we've got the total cost of what it's going to cost us to make. We dictate the gross profit. Again, it's really good to have in mind at least what you think you want to get. It just gives you something to aim for. Now, on this example, I've put 70%. Generally, we're looking at anything between 60 and 70. That's where we want to go. But it depends on our menu, what the products are. So be flexible, but at least give yourself something to aim for, because then you'll know if you're hitting where you need to be. And again, these price calculators give you a suggested selling price. You don't have to use it, and also it can work in reverse. So we've got some products that we want on our menu because we've seen others selling them. We think, yeah, this is really good. This is what we want to sell it at. And we can use this to then work out, okay, well, if we want to sell it at this, the gross profit is not going to be where we want it to be. It might be in the 50s, for example, but that's okay, because at least we know. So at least you know where you are. And I think having that knowledge really helps you keep track of the health of your business, especially through this crisis when prices are fluctuating and changing. Again, we've spoken about the wider variables, the wider factors earlier on about, okay, what's your customer base? We've got seasonal shops where the customers are going to turn up in the summer. They don't have many choices. They're going to come to us. They're on holiday. Their mindset is completely different to the inland customer base, where they're coming weekly. They know what they want. They know what the other people in the nearby villages are paying. So you've got those wider factors, but actually when you're looking at your menu, there's other factors and variables just to be aware of. Are you a takeaway? Are you a restaurant? We, within the chain, all of them are takeaways. We have 3 sit-down restaurants, but as I mentioned at the beginning, we are going into the casual dining. So this is new to us, and it depends what service you're providing, and it's something to think about. Again, menu placement. When you're costing, the gross margin that you're aiming for may differ depending on if you're looking at the mains or if you're looking at a side, if you're looking at a dessert. For example, some of our sides, if they're homemade mushy peas, for example, we've got a really healthy gross profit margin. So is that what we want to be telling our asking our teams to upsell? Or do we want the more expensive, less healthy profit margin, freezer to fryer, quick, simple sides? So there are things to consider when you're looking at your menu. Using your teams and your upsells, you can help sort of change customer behavior and think about what you're trying to promote. And again, this will all come back. Every penny comes back. So it's worth thinking about. And again, the prep and the skill set. Before the pandemic, we had mushy peas. We didn't do homemade mushy peas. We did it in a can. The skill set's less. We don't have the equipment. We wouldn't need the equipment. We don't have the risks that came with that. So the profit margin was lower. Now that we make homemade mushy peas, yes, we're getting a better profit margin, and they're the ones that we're upselling. They're the ones that we want to see the teams try and upsell with the fish and chips. But you have to bear in mind that we've had to invest in the equipment. Our teams, the risk assessment needs to be there. They're using pressure cookers, which essentially are bombs. So there's things that you need to be aware of. And very professionally, something that we use quite a lot when we're reviewing multiple things in our business is the FAF factor. And again, this is something, because our shops are manager run, we do need to look at the FAF factor. For example, homemade onion rings, gross profit margin is fantastic on those, and they're a really good seller. But if you get one customer ordering 3 sets of 6 onion rings, suddenly they've just got this pan full of onion rings, and they've then got to try and work out how they're going to maneuver that with everything else going in the pans. So that is something to consider, where when you do have, we've just brought in a dessert that's from freezer to fryer, it works really well because it doesn't take room up in that pan. So again, there's other things to think about. I'm not saying that gross profit margin needs to be number one, but for us, our mindset has changed, and we are using that higher up in our weightings when we're looking at how we're pricing. And from that, these are the things that we've sort of taken away from changing our mindset to pricing, especially where now is important, now more than ever, to get that pricing right. We are continually monitoring the ingredients and the raw products coming in. And some things do get messy. For example, I think it was tomato sauce, we suddenly saw a huge price increase on. We captured that because of the system that we now have. And I don't know if we would have found that if we were still doing the annual review. I think it's really important to have the gross profit margin that you think you want to aim for. It doesn't mean you always need to get there, and you may have stuff that's higher, but at least you've got something that you're aiming for, and it means when you do your prices, you're confident that you've thought about it. Again, something that we've been doing is, instead of if prices have gone up, especially cod, instead of reducing our gross profit margin, we have put that to the customers. If you want cod, this is how much it's going to cost you. But we've altered the menu to give them other items they could buy if price was the factor. Because something that we have learned through this is that price, obviously this depends where you are, but for us, the price is not always a limiting factor on whether that customer is going to come to you or not. There's more important things, and giving them a variety of products with different prices means that if price is what they're deciding on, they've got something else. But for us, that's not what we're seeing. And lastly, something that my dad always reminds me is that we are a business. We do no one any favors if we don't get our pricing right, and if we go out of business. It doesn't help our suppliers, it doesn't help our customers, our community. And you could say, oh yeah, but it helps you, if your competitor goes out of business, then that's great. But actually, because of our industry and because of hospitality, actually having competitors increases your game. So that is something to bear in mind. So that was that on the pricing. Hopefully that was useful. Again, this is the story of how we're coming through this and what we're sort of focusing on. And the other exciting thing that we've been that's new to us, February 2022, we opened our first casual dining fish and chip shop, which is completely different to what we're used to. And it's fantastic. Our new shop that we open in 2 weeks will also be based on casual dining. So this one, Swanage, it's in a seasonal area. So summer's great, everyone's at the beach. Winter, no one's around. We knew before going back into Swanage, we'd been there before, and we knew that we were going to struggle with building a team. We knew that from the start, that there's not many, the population is quite low. We knew that was going to struggle. So to make this work, we went in with the mindset of that we need the customer to work for themselves a little bit. So we have built our processes maybe off a bit of McDonald's, a bit of Burger King. We've got the self-service tills. These stats are from, we last looked at the stats, these are from September. They have gone up. We do want to change where the kiosks have been placed. We think they can do a lot more, especially as the customers are used to going to other places. The bigger chains are using them. The customers know what to do, and again, that's something that we struggle with. We're aware that our customer base is usually quite old, and will they use these systems? But we're confident that will go up, and like I said, we're committed to getting some more of these. They're going to the new shop, and it means that it reduces that bottleneck at the serving station. So that's been really good. And again, other lessons that we've learned. It's self-service, so they come in, they either order at the till or they go to the kiosks. We're trying to move customer behaviour to go to the kiosks so that it reduces the time on the till. They collect their order and they take a seat, they eat there, and then they've got salt and vinegar on the tables, or if they're takeaway, there's a self-service site there, so that takes them away from the counter. And we ask them to clear their tables. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time the customers do clear their tables. But one thing we kind of overlooked when we were designing this was the amount of waste we would get. We use bio boxes, and the system was working fantastic, quality was good, everyone was happy, but our waste was huge. And what we've done now is if they say that they're going to eat in, we use reusable baskets with greaseproofing, and our waste has dramatically reduced, and it's been really good. So again, that's something, if you are looking at this kind of style, I definitely recommend thinking about that. We didn't think about waste enough, but luckily we could catch it. Once we opened, we could see that this was going to be an issue, especially height of summer, and we were able to put something in. So definitely recommend looking at the baskets if that's the way you're going to go. As I say, it depends on where you are. Where we're going next is a town. We think casual dining is going to work really well there. There's places where we have restaurants that are full service restaurants that we wouldn't consider reverting to a casual dining because of the customer base that we've got there. So again, that's something to think about. Does your shop lean more towards a restaurant if it's got the space, or casual dining? But we're excited. We think this is good to see, and I think it's a bit new for the industry as well. And that's it for me. Hopefully I haven't gone over time, but I hope that was really useful.
Well, thank you very much, Kaylee. That was fascinating and really valuable as well from my personal perspective, and I'm sure it was from the rest of the audience as well. I mean, I've got tons of questions, but as I'm the chair, maybe Elliot wants to go to the audience first and see what they've got to ask you.
Brilliant. Yeah, so if anyone's got any questions, please put them in the chat. There aren't any at the moment, so you go, Sarah.
Okay, well, I will go if that's all right with the rest of the panelists as well. So lots of things there. I mean, I loved the faff factor, and I so relate to it. I mean, you're spot on with that. I mean, we are very aware, and I'll talk in my presentation about the cost of labour, and at the absolute minimum, our labour is costing 23 pence a minute. So that's every single person that's on the premises is costing 23 pence per minute minimum, when you take holidays into account and what have you. So yeah, faffing is an expensive occupation, isn't it, in business? So lots of stuff. I'm interested in the casual dining versus the restaurant and kind of more traditional restaurant takeaway setup. I think what we have at the Real Food Cafe is probably very akin to your casual dining in many respects. But a lot of people kind of say to me, "Oh, Sarah, you know, you ought to open a restaurant because you could charge so much more if you turned that into a restaurant and takeaway, as opposed to what flat one price list. So have two-tier pricing." I take it in your casual dining concept, you've got flat pricing as opposed to two-tier. Is that right? But in the restaurant takeaway, you've got two-tier.
Yeah, that's correct. So in the full restaurants, they have a different tier price level to the casual dining. The casual dining and takeaway are the same. It just makes it easier for our guys. There's no, "Oh, actually, we've ordered this, now we want to sit down." It makes it easier. And again, it depends on what your business is doing. So for us in Swanage, it's a seasonal restaurant. We need the turnover. We need as many customers to walk through those doors as possible. We need less staff.
Volume.
Yeah, we're going for volume. Yeah. We knew before going in there that we were going to struggle to build a team. We still have not got a full team. We haven't got the numbers that we want. So this is going to be our second summer, not with the team that we would like in there. But it works because of the casual dining. We can still get that volume through. And we do have a simplified menu for that site.
Right, yeah, okay. And I take it you're dispensing the drinks from a dispense bar then, are you, somewhere, a separate kind of dispense area?
Okay, we did think about that.
Right.
Yeah, we do cans. Again, we looked at that, and our restaurants, we put them in, but we didn't get the return on them. And we're aware because of that one, because it is seasonal, the pumps wouldn't get the use through the winter.
Right.
So we've decided it's easier with cans. It's easier for the team to grab a can and give it to the customer than stand there pulling the pumps or pushing the buttons and things. We do our coffee and tea sales are really good there. We predicted that coffee would be the one, but actually it's tea. And again, we didn't see that coming. So we put in coffee machines, but actually the coffee machines are being used more for the water for the tea. But you know, customer bases, you try and predict, but you just don't get it right every time.
Okay, very interesting. And of course, we love selling coffee and tea, don't we, Kaylee? Talk about margins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is a question, Sarah. Do you add electricity and water in your pricing from Lindsay Morris?
So we don't put it in the pricing here. And I guess that's what I'm saying. So we do add packaging, which people wouldn't usually do, but that does give us that buffer. And also we are monitoring things like that, but not in this. That would come into what gross margin are you looking for to get from your products. So not individually, I don't break it down. That is definitely something that we could look at doing in the future. But at the minute, we are just doing it off the food, and we do the packaging, which does give us a bit of a buffer for that.
Tiffany Irvin is our next speaker. Tiffany is the co-owner of the Fishworks at Largs. So that's in Scotland, in Ayrshire, on the west coast of Scotland. And Tiffany will explain how she has a little bit about how she set up a very successful award-winning fish and chip business, and a little bit about menu innovation, but also something she's very passionate about, which is well-being, mental health and well-being in her team at the Fishworks. The Fishworks are currently the holder of the Quality Accreditation Award, which is the National Federation of Fish Fryers Quality Award, and they are the holder of that award, so the best of the best, if you like. And they were also ranked number 3 overall in the independent fish and chip shop of the year this time around in 2022, in the last awards. So I'm sure that they'll be going for number 1 slot in the next lot of awards. So I look forward to seeing how they get on there. But I'll hand you over to Tiffany to take over. Thanks, Tiffany.
Hi everyone, I am Tiffany Irvin from the Fishworks in Largs. Yes, we are the current holders of the Quality Accreditation Champion, and we came 3rd for Best Takeaway, as Sarah just let everyone know. I am having technical difficulties. I was going to share my screen, but it wouldn't load on my Mac, so I've got you on my iPad. So I'm not sure if I can actually share my screen on my iPad. I had some images of menu ideas or menu things that we've ran recently, but I've actually been pressing all the buttons and can't figure out how to share my screen, if anyone can help.
Hi Tracy, I've just made you co-host, so you should be able to do it now.
Ah, right, okay, let me see then, share content. Ah, right, screen.
Tiffany even, Tiffany.
No, that's okay, right, just bear with me then and I'll just, now where is it? Sorry, this was all set up. Right, that one's for after. So at the Fishworks, can everybody still see me and see my screen now? Yeah, perfect, right. So at the Fishworks, we operate a very varied menu as it is anyway. However, we try to push a special every week or every couple of weeks, and based on how well these specials run, we will sometimes put them into our full menu. Our full menu currently has haddock, smoked haddock, cod, lemon sole, langoustine tail scampi, king prawns, black pudding, haggis, sausages, chicken strips. So it's a very varied menu as it is. But by running our specials, we're particularly aiming for the age bracket that fish and chip shops lose, that kind of 13 to 30 age bracket. And most fish and chip shops will tell you that their clients are young children with older family members and old people. We kind of lose that. We call them the kind of the young crowd, the teens and the trendy people. So most of our specials are kind of aimed at those foodies, the kind of people that are. I've got a 13-year-old son that's really into his food, and when we went to London, he had a list of all these places he wanted to try, bowel bun places, and so there is a young age group that are into their food, and it's trying to kind of target that age group as well as your kind of market that you generally have. So I'm just going to flick through some of the specials that we've ran lately that have went very well. This is a katsu fish burger. So this is haddock that we've breaded ourselves, and it's served with a katsu mayo. It went down really, really well. We run that over our in-store on our specials board, but also on our app and website or platform. The young crowd that wouldn't normally come in for fish and chips. Some others are our recent one, I don't know if you can see that very well, we ran a lobster roll, which went down really well. And again, it was something that took away from our fryer. We're very seasonal, similar to some of Kaylee's locations. So on a really, really sunny day, people will flock to Largs, and it's quite a lot. We have 4 pans. Our frying pan, our main one, is a meter pan, but on a busy day that can be overloaded with your general fish and all your other items. So to take away from that, we try to put some specials in on those days, which will steer our customers into a different bracket. Now, this again,
Tiffany?
as Kaylee, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. If you just press the green button at the bottom, we'll
Yes.
be able to share your screen.
Ah, right. Okay. Wait,
So there should be a green share screen button at the bottom.
Is that us?
Perfect.
Yeah, right. Okay. So now let me just get back to my screen now. This was all working on my Mac. Does you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, right, perfect. So this is our lobster roll, which we were running there over the busy days. Now, we are 30 miles southwest of Glasgow on the west coast of Scotland. And I don't know if you're aware, but the weather in Scotland for the last 6 weeks has been like the Mediterranean. So we are now the heart of the Mediterranean and everybody's coming to the west coast. So to take the impact off our fryer, we ran our lobster roll special. Now I put this on at £16.50 with chips, which my husband said not in a month of Sundays would we get £16.50 for a lobster roll and chips, and we actually sold out. And I was really surprised at that because I mean, we needed to price it a lot higher than our other items because, like Kaylee said, there is that faff aspect in where we had someone prepared up and putting the salad on with the lobster, and the lobster comes in at £25 for 320 kilograms prepared. So it's expensive in itself, costing us £6.25 a portion. So we had to put it at a higher price in order for it to work. But again, it was one of those ones that we had a lot of kind of 16, 17, 18-year-olds coming down for it once we launched it. And I think, again, going with companies, we're just a small owner-run shop. Companies such as Burger and Lobster and everything have already done all the marketing on this for you. So this type of item sold really, really well. So I'll flick through some others. We also receive langoustine and lobster. If you can see in the background of this image, the pier, there's promenade there, and then the pier behind it is where our local fishing boats stock, and we get a catch from them directly. So during the summer months, we'll run a half or a whole lobster and chips, and we'll also do langoustine and garlic butter. Again, aiming at clientele to your normal just fish and chips customers. This is targeted at trendy young folk and mums and those type of people that wouldn't normally want to come for fish and chips. Again, the profit margin on this type of thing, because we can't charge, I mean, in a restaurant, you could charge £42 for this type of thing. We can, again, we were in the kind of £16, £17 bracket, depending on the landing costs. But yes, it is the type of thing that will bring people to your shop, where Kaylee said you can upsell your higher profit margin products. So I'll flick through some of the others. This is our whole langoustine. There's another image of the lobster roll and chips. We do our chickpea fritters, again, homemade, something aimed at the kind of more trendy vegan, vegetarian age group, rather than your kind of older, younger, strict fish and chips, sausage supper people. Sorry, some of these are loading because I was originally going to do this all off my Mac. I've had to transfer everything to my iPad, so apologies for that. Again, one of the specials we ran last summer was in Scotland. It's not widely landed. They land Scot lobsters, and we boiled those, which was really, really easy to do, and stored them cooked, ready to go in the fridge with a salad, a garlic butter and a side of fries, and the customers peeled and ate those. And again, the profit margin was really quite high on these, and again, it was just something different that other shops in our local area didn't have, so it brought customers to ourselves. It's our fish burger again. Another one we've ran is our half crab and chips. So this is a fully dressed crab. Again, there's no faff factor in this one. We buy that in from our fish supplier. ready to go, and we serve that with chips. And again, it's just pricing it accordingly, and you can get a higher price for these types of items as you can for your standard haddock and chips, cod and chips, sausage suppers, because it is a different style of product. Some of the others, that one there is our sriracha king prawns. So that's just basically what we would sell in store normally, which is our king prawns done in batter, which we do ourselves with chips. But instead we added a sriracha mayonnaise to the top, and just again was able to sell it as a different aspect than our normal. And we sell king prawn and chips across the board, but by naming it sriracha king prawn and chips, it just opened a bigger bracket of sales to different age groups for us, and again brought customers down to the shop. Another one here, this is cod. It's cod katsu curry. So that's cod fillets that we've cut. Again, we've done them in our panko breadcrumbs and added a katsu curry sauce. And again, that just creates a different type of customer than your standard fish and chip products. Vegan fish and chips, I know many people have kind of branched out into this again. These are easily found. Most suppliers sell them. We batter them and serve them with us as we would normally. And again, it just widens the whole audience of your customer. So you then go the young, trendy, vegan age group, whereas they wouldn't have normally come. And when they come as a group of friends, they come with their family. And again, you're kind of reaching out to the whole spectrum. From, we have friends come for a Fishworks because we've created that whole kind of trendy aspect rather than your traditional fish and chip shop. This one I'll just load. We run this all year round. This is our langoustine and chips. So we do these in garlic butter on our griddle. And again, they're priced at £13.90, and we're currently £10.90 for a haddock supper and chips. We pay £10 for a kilogram of those at the moment. So again, it's a really good gross profit on them, although you wouldn't necessarily think so. That's 4 langoustine cut in half, served with garlic butter. And again, it just opens your market base up so much wider than your standard items. You don't have to run these all the time. We don't, there's days where we'll run several ones and not others. And we can kind of base whether it's worth us putting on as a regular based on how much we sell and the feedback from it. One we run just as a special was our crab loaded chips, which I'm hoping will come up soon. I'll just flick through some of these because there's a few tuna steak and chips. This is our crab loaded chips. Now we ran this as a special. We buy the crab meat in 400 grams for £15. We get about 5 portions out of that, and we serve that with chips for £7.90. And again, we ran that just as a special. And the minute we took it off, we received several emails asking when the crab loaded chips would be back on. And since then, they're just permanently on. And again, it's something that takes away from the stress on our fryer because the crab's already made up. We mix it up in the morning with mayonnaise, lemon juice, some salt, and some garlic, and then that is just put on top of chips. So it's really easily done, and we sell loads of it. There's a teriyaki salmon, another one that we ran, and I could go on and on and on. But basically, I've only been in the industry for 6 years, but I've kind of learned that by adding the special items to our menu, it does just widen your horizons. You'll get the teenage son saying to his parents, "Oh, I seen online a really good reel." By running it really well and appealing to the younger generation, you'll get young people coming down with their family rather than just the older people dragging the kids for fish and chips. So that's just some of the items that we've run. That one there was a black pudding and scallop special. Sorry, some of these are still loading to my iPad. That's our black pudding fritters, which again we sell daily in store, but by adding 2 scallops cooked on a hot plate, it just created a different product altogether that appealed to a different bracket than your standard black pudding orderer. So it's just widening those types of things. It just creates a wider menu and allows you to branch out to reach more customers. So I don't even know how long I've been chatting for, but one of the other items that I wanted to talk to you about was something we've kind of launched in store. I don't know if you can read that. When running for the awards last year, and we made it to third place, during all, anyone that's ever went in for the awards knows how much of an impact it has on the running of your shop and making sure that you're operating to industry standards and that everybody's on the same page. And we had so many team meetings last year about what the team wanted to achieve, what we wanted to achieve. And we were always kind of on high alert that we could be being judged at any moment and that our customers were judging us. And we wanted to make sure that we were putting out the best that we had to offer. And our team were on board with that across the board, and they loved every aspect of it. One day I came in and I kind of noticed one of our team members was not herself. And I kind of said to her, "Is everything okay?" And she said, yeah, and she carried on. And then again, later in the day, I was frying and I kind of noticed that she wasn't being as friendly with customers as she normally would be. So again, I said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, yeah. And eventually, after some probing, she said, "Actually, can I talk to you?" And we had a bit of a discussion privately, and she said, "It's okay for me to share this with you guys," that her mum and dad had separated. And it wasn't very amicable, and it was really bad, and things at home were awful, and she was finding it really stressful. So from that conversation, I was able to chat to her and say, "Look, perhaps being in here is not the best thing for you. You're having to put a smile on. Why don't you go and take a day out, go and have a walk and things?" I actually said, "Look, we'll pay you as though you're here. Go and take the day off, have a break, and just get your head together. And if there's anything you need to talk to me about," and we talked about several things after that on many occasions. Afterwards, she said to me, "Do you know, that was really, really good that I was able to do that." So it kind of sparked a bit of momentum in the shop about mental health and well-being. And with the whole topic of this Women in Fish and Chips and Friends being business resilience, I kind of thought this would be a good thing to discuss with everyone. I had thought about not discussing it with everyone because this is going to be part of my entry for this year's National Fish and Chip Awards. But I felt that getting it out there to more shops, the better, because this could effectively benefit everybody's business and save someone's life. So I wanted to kind of put this out there. If you're not doing this already, it could be an idea for you. So based on that, I went on and did my mental health in the workplace training, which you can do through several online websites. There's loads of CPD courses on it, and it just highlights how to go about supporting your team, how to branch out if they need any help, who to go to for relevant help, what kind of questions to ask, what questions not to ask. So after doing that training, I thought it'd be a good idea to put this box in our staff area. And it basically gives the team an opportunity to put a note in, and it's locked, so they know that it's private. So they can write a small note and they know that I'm the only person that opens it. I can go in and find a message, and then it gives them an opportunity to discuss what they have going on. Because we've discovered within our team that we are only as good as our team. We can go down with fantastic ideas, fantastic menu ideas, but as an owner operator, if our team aren't on the same page as us and they're not mentally prepared for a busy day and not mentally prepared for what we're going in for, it's a cog in the whole machine that's not working well. So by making sure that our team are all mentally well, physically well, and coping well and working well within our business, not only does it benefit our business, it benefits everyone as people. So I wanted to get this out there. Since putting the box in, I've had 2 messages put in it, and I only launched the box in April. So the box went in, and again, I've spoke to this person and they said they didn't mind me sharing this information with you, I have a young boy, I'm saying young boy, he's actually in his 30s, but he's worked with us since we opened, and he does potatoes for us every morning. And he popped a note in to say that his mum had recently had quite a severe stroke. And this was something we were totally unaware of. And he'd actually said, I'm really struggling. I don't know how to get the help we need. My mum has actually told everybody she's fine, but she's not fine. And I'm effectively a carer and I don't know what I'm doing. So based on that, I was able to get his message and reach out to him. And since then, I've actually went with him to our local authority, and we've now arranged carers to come out for his mum, and he's now had a carers review, because it was a lot for him to entail. And although it wasn't affecting his work, we didn't notice any difference. It was affecting him mentally, which could have resulted in him not turning up in things, but also could have resulted in something even worse. So this is something that we've promoted throughout the shop, and we've had loads of wellness team meetings, and it's something that I thought I should share with the industry, as it may be something that everyone else could implement and could across the board save lives and help many people. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
There's a question from Joe Gibson about your menus, Tiffany. So
yeah,
where do your ideas for innovative specials come from?
I kind of said earlier that I have a 13-year-old who's a real foodie. He will say on daily, like just during family chats, oh, on TikTok I kind of seen this, and we get small ideas from those. Obviously I'm a foodie myself, so I follow a lot of different restaurants and different chefs and things online. So it could come from something we've seen, it can come from something from we've tasted abroad on our holidays, those types of things. Like our salsa sea bass was something we tried similar when out in Florida. And we thought, we could do a salsa sea bass again. It takes the pressure off the fryer. We'll cook it on the grill. And it was something we just implemented from there. So kind of comes, even our team will often say to the team, if anyone's had any ideas or anything they've seen that they'd like to try or they'd like to implement. One of our team actually came up with the tuna steak, the tuna steak and chips. That was something I hadn't even thought about. But again, it took any stress off putting anything else into our fryer. It was able to be cooked totally separately. We could provide that to gluten-free customers. And again, that was just one of our team said, oh, do you know what? I really love tuna steak. Why don't we try a tuna steak special? So it just comes from different things we've seen in different places we've been ourselves. Like the halloumi fritters was something we'd often ate halloumi and Nando's. Both my sons love a Nando's. So we kind of been in there and seen that they were selling halloumi and the cost of it, and thought, you know what, we could try halloumi. So we came back, bought in halloumi, battered it, fried it, served it with a sweet chili dip, and it flew out the door. So it just comes from kind of things we see around on social media, and just even things you would try in the house that we think, do you know what, this would actually work in the shop. And we just give it a bash. If they don't work, it's not a big deal, because we only run them as a special. Again, sometimes we've got a really good relationship with our fish supplier. So some of these specials run off the back of what's in season, which ties in with our environmental policy. So I'll often phone our fish supplier, Sean, and say, look, Sean, what's being landed? What's there loads of? What can we get in at a good price that's sustainable right now? And he'll come back and say, do you know what, there's loads of mackerel. So we'll do a mackerel and batter, or we'll do a mackerel and breadcrumbs. So it comes from all different aspects, but it is just things we've tried in other places that we thought we could tweak that and serve ourselves, or word of mouth from family, friends, or like I said, if it's tying in with our sustainability, going with what's in season from our fish supplier and what's been landed locally in season.
I have a question. You use quite a lot of high value ingredients on your specials menu. What do you do with leftovers, if there are any?
Usually we don't. We're really lucky. We get most of our deliveries 6 days a week, so we kind of buy for sale. So generally we don't have a lot of waste. With the lobster we didn't, with the crab we didn't, with the half lobster and chips we actually did have waste, because again it's one of those high cost products, not everybody's going to buy it, and it's hard to know what we would sell. So what we actually done that time was we had I think we had 6 or 8 lobsters left. We actually halved those, and we know that our local aged concern does a movie night. We actually in that case donated the half lobsters that were left over to our aged concern with other items, and we'd give them a bit of a buffet for their movie night. So again, that's just tying in with our community welfare things that we do within the shop. So we do that often with any kind of leftovers, but because we're cooked to order and we have deliveries of our fresh products 6 days a week, to be honest, we don't have much leftovers. But anything like that we try and tie in with any community groups that we have. We often have the local nursery down to try some fish products, if anything that we think we're not going to sell a lot of, to try and increase children enjoying fish. So we've had the local nursery down that all enjoyed half langoustine from the local fishing boat, and we were able to show the nursery where they were landed. They walked from where they were landed round to the shop, how they were cooked, and they all enjoyed them. I think realistically they all enjoyed the colouring in more when they were at the shop, being nursery children, but again it was just introducing them to local produce, where it came from, and again trying something new.
So now we're going to move on to the next speaker, which is me. I'll try and keep it short and sweet, and then after me there'll be a very short comfort break before we come back and move on to Calum Richardson, who's going to do an interactive workshop on how to communicate more effectively, and that will, I'm very certain, will be a very valuable session. So I'd urge you all to stick with us, and I will, without further ado, get on with my little session. So, folks, I'm going to put up, can I just screen share as well here? So, here you go. So can you see that? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So this is my business. Well, it was my business. So back in 2005, just to kind of scene set a little bit. Back in 2005, I bought a derelict Little Chef. So this was it before it closed down and became derelict. And this is it here in 2005 when we first opened. So I have to say it was kind of quite a kind of modest opening, I would say. And it was a baptism of fire for me because I had never worked in fish and chips before. And frankly, the only reason that I was going into fish and chips is because the bank manager wouldn't lend me the money at the price we wanted to pay for it unless we had fish and chips at the centre of everything we were doing. It was her that said, if you open a fish and chip shop in Tyndrum, you won't go wrong. So we took that advice and she was right. So that was kind of where it all started and how it all started. Tyndrum is a village literally in the middle of nowhere. It's on the A82, halfway between Glasgow and Fort William. So anybody that's going to do the Three Peaks, anyone that's heading for the Western Isles, the Hebridean Islands off the coast of Scotland, anyone who's doing the West Highland Way, as Calum did actually last year, will go past our door. But the village itself is isolated and remote. It has a population of 129 people. And the children that are going to secondary school go on almost 100-mile round trip every day. So our nearest supermarkets are 50, 60 miles away. We've got a co-op, actually a small co-op, about 20 miles away. So yeah, it's an unusual location and it's very much roadside dining. So when we started the fish and chips, we kind of automatically really this kind of casual dining concept evolved, and we've built a menu around fish and chips, which is revolves around breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're open from 7:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, 7 days a week in a remote location. Most of our staff live in staff accommodation. So there's some different aspects to this business to kind of more mainstream fish and chips, due mainly to the location that we're in. So over the years, we've built the business up, and we now turn over in excess of £2 million a year net, and we employ 28 people. So here's a few more shots of it evolving, and then, yeah, don't know why that's happened. Just get a picture in of the, that's better. Oh, maybe not. That's what I was looking for. So this is it today. Okay. So yeah, we've evolved it, and it's still a work in progress. We are certainly not the finished article. All right, so that's a little bit of scene setting about us. What I want to talk about today, what I'm down to talk about, is doing business in a cost of living crisis. And I'm going to just talk very briefly about that, because what I'm going to share, I think, is a little bit of the kind of, if I was a sausage, it would be the sizzle in me. It's the kind of bit of our secret sauce. I'm going to share a kind of concept that I'm really, really passionate about, and it's called the aggregation of marginal gains. So if any of you follow British cycling, and you've heard of a guy called Dave Brailsford, all he has now is Sir Dave Brailsford, you will have come across the aggregation of marginal gains. It's a concept that is used somewhat in sport, and he really kind of made it well known as well known as it is. It's said that Eliud Kipchoge, when he ran that, I think I've pronounced that very badly, I'm sure, but when he ran the sub 2 hour marathon, his success was down to the aggregation of marginal gains. So this concept, the aggregation of marginal gains, I'm hoping if you asked any of our team, they would tell you what it is. And basically, it's about looking after all the little things. So it's not about trying to tackle great big things, which is kind of the beauty of it, really, because anyone can do it. So it's all about looking after all the little things and adding them all together to accumulate a great result. And nothing kind of exemplifies that better in sport than what happened when British cycling back at the 2008 Beijing Olympics went from zero, hadn't won anything for 100 years, to winning 10 gold medals. They then went on after that to win a whole heap of gold medals at the World Championships. And then obviously also, hopefully you all know, they then did very, very well in successive Tour de France's. And we took the yellow jersey, which is the kind of coveted thing in that race. So, completely transformational. And Dave Brailsford puts this success down to the aggregation of marginal gains and applying that absolutely rigorously through the sport. So this is what we try to emulate at the Real Food Cafe, to varying degrees of success, if I'm really honest. But all the team are aware of the aggregation of marginal gains. And in fact, we have, hoping to be able to show, we have a scoreboard. So this is our aggregation of marginal gain scoreboard. This is the template for it. And as you can see, we're split into different teams. So we've got 6 teams with team leaders, and they have all the team members are allocated into a team. So the oblong pieces you see at the bottom, that's for the photos of each person that goes in. So we take a photo and we stick. This is not online, this is real, it's on the wall. And we've got photos of all the people that are in each team. And each team's got a leader, as I said. And then we look at the aggregation of the gains each quarter and top them up. Okay. So in British cycling, Dave Brailsford, all the teams, the Italians, the French, every team, the Americans, they were all looking at the design of the bikes, okay? Just like all the competitors in the fish and chip shop of the year competition, they're all looking at how they rumble their potatoes or cut their fish. These are things that, we should all be looking at. But Dave Brailsford took it to another level. So he started really reverse engineering everything, deconstructing everything, and looking at absolutely every minute detail. So for instance, he painted the inside of all of their vans and their lorries white. And he did that so that it would show up any dust or dirt that was in and around very kind of high-tech cycling equipment and bikes. He decided that, he looked at the lifestyle of the competitors. They were traveling the world. And, he thought about the fact, kind of obvious fact, I guess, that you can't give a world-class performance if you haven't had a great night's sleep. And if you're in a different bed every night, sometimes it's very hard to get a good night's sleep. So they figured out which were the best mattresses, the best duvets, the best pillows, the best sheets for each individual athlete, and they took them all with them. So he took it to a whole new level. It wasn't just about looking at the bikes, wasn't just about looking at the outfits and what they, how many hours they trained for. He looked at absolutely everything. And that's what we're trying to do at the Real Food Cafe in running our business. As I say to the team, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And in a cost of living crisis, we've got even more reason to try and do that. I don't know about you guys, but some of the costs that we are facing are eye-watering, astronomical. We don't want to be a bunch of busy fools at the Real Food Cafe. We need the whole team to be working like a well-oiled machine. And, to an extent, we achieve that. We are not the finished article, I assure you. But, this is a kind of, it's a concept and a way of life that we're trying to kind of really ingrain into the culture of the Real Food Cafe. It's a cultural thing. So we get the teams together in the quiet, between the end of October, the beginning of November, and the end of March, we have time as a team to work on our business. For the rest of the year, we are just all working flat out in the business. So we get the teams together and we brainstorm, let's break everything down. And then we try to start working, we make lists and we try to start working on all these different areas. But step by step, we don't try and do it all at once. We're not trying to boil the ocean. Take it just gradually, just slowly, step by step. This is a work in progress. It's an evolution, not a revolution. Oh, lots of cliches coming out here. So that is, and this is the kind of the very real kind of visual, keeps it real, keeps it in, everybody's mind. And, everyone likes a bit of competition too. So that's our scoreboard. Yeah, this is one of the graphs, one of the tools that I show the team when we're trying to kind of impart the importance of the aggregation of marginal gains. So very simple, but, very also at the same time, very striking. And, no, that's not going to happen. Sorry, folks, about that. Seem to have lost one of my slides. Never mind. Yeah. So we work on, I mentioned earlier that the minimum cost of a staff member is 23 pence a minute. Everybody in our team knows that. So, cutting out the faff factor, making things more streamlined. If we can save 2 minutes out of an exercise, that's 46p we've just saved out of, say, making an elaborate hot chocolate. We sell thousands of hot chocolates every year. That suddenly becomes thousands of pounds. So if we can cut down on the rumbling time, when you add up all the sacks of potatoes that we are rumbling every year, that suddenly becomes a very significant number. And so on and so forth. So I would encourage you all to start, if you're not already, just look at all the little tiny areas that you can save a little bit of money or make a little bit more money. For instance, upselling. That's another thing. We serve thousands of customers every year. If we can sell another 10p to each customer, that suddenly becomes thousands and thousands of pounds, more or less straight onto the bottom line, because there's no more labor involved in that. There's no more electricity involved in that. So that's what we've tried to do, is to adopt this principle and ingrain it into the fabric of our business. I mean, I could talk for a long time about the aggregation of marginal gains. It's something we work on all the time at the cafe, but that was just kind of a little bit of a kind of top line explanation about what that is all about. Happy to take a couple of questions if there are any. If not, let's get on to our break. But before we go to the break, I would just like to say two things. Firstly, if you haven't already, you're not aware, you haven't thought about entering the fish and chip shop of the year competition, please have a look, go to the website and have a look. No shop is too small, no shop is too remote, no shop is, you don't have to have the great big modern shop to win. I assure you, it really helps you, just like Kaylee was saying. Competition is good because it helps us raise our game. Entering the competition entering any of those categories in the competition will help you raise your game. And you might win. And if you win, you're going to go on a journey of a lifetime. So that's number one. And number two is that on the 10th of September, in Cambridge, there's the Isle of Ely Produce Day, which is run by Austin Dack and Chipper Chat. And I'd encourage you all to have a look at that. And if you can get down there, go along and go to that again. Fantastic event, lots of networking, hearing from some great speakers, and it's just brilliant fun as well. So it's really important, I think, when you're running a business. I mean, running a business normally is a lonely business. Running a business in a remote location is a doubly lonely business. So we really try to. Although it's a long way for us to go to stuff, we really try to make the effort to go to some of these things, and we get loads more out of them than we put in, or than it costs us to go. So that's why whenever I'm asked to do anything for the fish and chip industry, I always really try to do my best. So thanks very much for listening.
Young Fry of the Year was a catalyst for me of confidence. And if I look back to what I was like then, Jesus, even to win a chip shop of the year, or even last year for me, the differences is unbelievable. But that's what's important. You've got to keep moving and changing. So one of the things for me is I've been doing consultancy for years, going all around the world doing consultancy, and it's real difficult to juggle your own business and consultancy, because the margins, what you were talking about, Sarah, the margins are important. But when you're doing consultancy, the margins are out of your control. It's at the control of the person you're consulting for. So like I flew to America and I landed in America to help this company, and I turned up and the shop was like a blank canvas. I thought we were opening this week. And they said, oh, we're hoping you'll help us get planning. I'm like, fucking hell, could you not have told me that before I came here? I'm painting this place. And then they asked me to come back in 2 weeks to open. And I was like, whoa, this is difficult. So I did come back, but I only came back for like 3 days instead of like 2 weeks. So I helped open, where was it? Edinburgh Zoo was another one, just last year or the year before. And it's like anything. All it takes is a gas engineer to not turn up, and then my day of turning up for them is knocked. So when they say we're putting it off by a week, it was causing trouble with me, either in my business or my family life, because of having the children and stuff. So it was like, I was putting less effort into it because it was causing me more trouble than there was gain out of it. It was kind of hitting that point of that wall where I couldn't grow it anymore. But other people were controlling me in the equation. And I thought, so another thing that happened was I lost my manager after 20 odd years, 22 years or something. And I had ex-wife problems, severe problems, and it was just boiling me up, really. So I went to get some help because I thought, I'm going to explode, you know, I'm going to bust a lid. So I went and got some help. So I changed from investing all my time into everybody else, started investing time into myself, which I'd never, ever done. Always looked after everyone else, always apart from myself. So I started investing in me. Fucking hell, it was like a catalyst. I couldn't believe the difference in me personally, but everyone else around me. I believe in things happening for a reason. And the person I was going to message that day, Paul Mort, because we've been following each other for years, but I'm going to wait. I woke up in the morning, I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to message Paul Mort. And I went downstairs, picked my phone up, and he'd actually just liked a post of mine. And I thought, there's a sign. I'm into all this signage things. So I messaged him, bang, signed up for his 90-day program, bang, signed up for his year program. But it wasn't enough for me, because you've got to surround yourself with people that elevate you. You can't be at the top of your tree. If you're at the top of the tree, you never learn. You lower yourself to the expectations of everyone else. So you've got to be in people that inspire you. You've got to be around the folk that's going to elevate you to that level. So for me, I moved into his Elite X program. There's only like 11 or 12 of us in that. It's it's off the cuff expensive, but I started seeing the benefit in it for me. So I didn't see it as a cost. I seen it as an investment. So I'm in his Elite X program now. So there's no point being a coach or a mentor if you don't get a coach and mentor yourself, you know, because at the end of the day, you only learn all the time. So what happened was you do a thing called hot pen technique, and for Forked Up, I've got a thing called hot fork technique. So you sit and you write about where you want to be in 3 years, but you've got to add fluff. You've got to have imagination. You're not allowed the ego write it. You've got to write continually for 25 minutes. So you're not allowed to stop writing. And it's really difficult because your mind's telling you to stop. Your mind's telling you to be in a comfort zone. And I started writing, and it's apparent every time I write, I like helping people all the time. Always like helping people. So it transpired. And then I was down doing a one-to-one consultancy with him, and we were planning out my future. And he said to me, why do you not stop doing consultancy and start coaching people? Start controlling it. It's you in control then. So that's how Forked Up was born. He came up with some names, and I'm driving home and I'm thinking, and Forked Up came to me in the car, and I'm thinking, well, I like that. It's a bit spicy. So that's how that came. So I built Forked Up to try and help people and elevate them. And it's because I found that the gains in looking after yourself, your business flies. So for my biggest problem is I can run businesses. I could come into most folks' business and help them elevate it, help them tweak it. I am very quite eccentric, you know. I've got a weird vision, but it works for me. But my family life has been a disaster over years. You know, I'm on wife number 3. That says it all. I've got 4 kids, and I can control things, but a home life, I've been really bad. I neglect life, but that's totally changed. I've now learned how to create that balance, and I've learned actually by balancing what I do at home gives me a better business. Whereas before, all I seen was work, and not looking at the home life. And that was apparent for me. So like my oldest son, my relationship with him has been terrible. So one of the things I focused on in the past 2 years is building that relationship. Now I know that I can't control him, but I can put as much effort in as I can. And if I'm always there, then the rewards come back. So like my daughter wrote me a letter yesterday for Father's Day. Blew my mind. she's written that she really loves the magic moments that I create for her on the holidays and stuff, but the magic moments are memories. And I thought that's what I've been focusing on, is creating magic moments in life. I created these posters behind me. It's called My Life in Weeks. They're for my clients. So the top one's mine, the bottom one's Victoria's. Mine's just got a lot more coloured in dots because there's a lot less years left in my life. But you colour in dots, and if there's anything relevant, so like say for instance here, you colour in a dot because the kids are going to be 18. So the kids, when they're 18, they're not likely to want to come on holiday with me anymore. You know, they want to go away and get pissed with their friends and do all the things that you probably want to do yourself. So I said to the kids, look, we've got 4 summer holidays left, really. So what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Because that's all we've got. If there's dreams and ambitions and things you want to do, we need to start thinking now, because we need to save for it. We need to plan for it. And the kids are coming back with ideas now. And all of a sudden we're working as a group, but I'm asking better questions. I'm not just second guessing they want to go somewhere. We're doing things together. And it's kind of, it's making it work. But the motivation was all about trying to create a better life for me. And that's how everything's growing. So what I've got is I've got a 90-day program. So the 90-day program means you get exclusive to me for 90 days. So we have one-to-one sessions, a bit like this on Zoom. So we all help each other. You can do it individually if you want, but collectively it's far better, because if someone's speaking about something, you know, people have ideas and you can work together. It's quite a powerful moment. We journal in a worked up journal daily, and we check in weekly. You can check in either by sending it to me direct or sending it into the group chat, which again is powerful. It creates accountability. But to do that, we have to create goals. So we do that hot fork technique, and we think of goals. Like you write down, I want to fly a plane. So you think, fuck me, fly a plane? How am I going to fly a plane? Well, actually, you just need to get a lesson. If you start getting lessons, you're on the right path. So you chunk it back. So you chunk back 3 years to a year. You chunk it back to 90 days. So then, so for me in January, I know what my year was like. I can change it as we go, but I know what I want to gain in 3 years. I was going to sell my van because it was sitting doing nothing, but I'm going to sell it. But then my coach said to me, what do you want to get? And I says, right, I've had loads of property, but I had to sell it because it's obviously divorced, but I wouldn't mind some more property. So how am I going to get that? I thought, shit, that van can print money. And I thought, it's stupid. Why would I try and squeeze the shop to make even more when I can actually take the pressure off the shop and make more with the van? So that was it. I went and bought a new van that week. Instead of just using the one I had, I made myself accountable. I bought a new van, and it made me have to get that thing out and work. So I gave myself a target to do 48 van gigs in a year. So I chunked it back, so I know how many I've got to do each quarter. Well, I've started smashing it, because by putting a number makes me accountable. So every day I track it. So I think this quarter I'm on now 17 out of, I've upped it now. I want 15 every quarter now. I've got 17, and I'll probably get another 3 this week. But that's the difference. I've not put a monetary value on it, because if I said I want to earn, say, 100 grand in the van, you start chasing the wrong thing. You're chasing money. You're not chasing, money comes a different way. If you chase the pounds, I might start charging too much. I might look hungry. I might look greedy. But by chasing it in a different way, you can create a more sustainable business. So we chunk back our goals. So we work out goals together. We chunk them back, and we get vision and working. We have guest trainers that come on board, and the guest trainers, they come on, and I get folk to do different things like nutrition, fitness, things that help you. Not just all business things, but things that can help you elevate your business. Get accountants to come in and just like teach people that, you know, sometimes you're better paying a little bit more money and getting a better accountant than try to save money and spend a few hours in the office. I teach people the key thing is the who, not how. It's not how are you going to do something, it's who's going to do it for you, because that is the key. So like when Kaylee was talking about GP margins and stuff, that's a big training session that we've got. And automation is a massive part of it. So I believe in EPOSes. My EPOS does all that for me. So we create the recipe. So it's the fish box, the sticker, the base sticker. And if it's a fish, it's got an MSC sticker, the salt, the vinegar. I know not everyone's got it, but it means the GP margin's on the right side. The batter, the rice flour, everything's in there. So every time they hit fish, it tells you if a delivery comes in and say, for instance, the packaging's gone up in price, which it does generally daily, it goes up in price. As soon as the staff input the new box price, bang, it changes it. I get an email to tell me that the GP margin is now not what it should be. It tells me what it needs to be. So I'm not I can't stand sitting in the office. You know, it's like really not productive for me. So automate as much as you can. And the who, not how, is the really important thing. So we've got training modules. So like 4 A's, you learn about the 4 A's, you find out what it is you're good at, who your target audience is, what you can fix, what you can solve. So like my 4 A's in Forked Up and my 4 A's in the Bay is two different things. So like who's your customer? How are you going to target? You need to know these things before you market. Otherwise, you're just chucking shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. You've got to know your market. You've got to know your audience. You've got to know what their problem is. But actually, the key thing is you've got to know what you can fix. So if you know what the fix is, then the way to do it is you target the problem. You advertise the problem to them because you've got the solution. So there's how you market what the package is. So for me, I could say for Forked Up is a life balance. Have you got a good family life and work life? You know, I know how to fix that. So I know the solution to fix that in 90 days. You know, if you do what I say, that's my market. If you've got an area and you want to target lunchtime specials because it's schools or so like for Sarah, a lot of it would be passers-by and walkers and that. How am I going to target them walkers? How can we do that? How can I fix it? You know, as soon as I walked on the West Highland Way around the corner into Tyndrum, she's fixed it. She's put a sign there saying, welcome, Calum and Victoria. I thought, you bastard, I've got to come in now, you know, but it's true. So she targeted it. She got me straight away. And that's what you've got to learn. And then the funnel. So how you get people in at the top. Now, one thing COVID's dealt us and we should all have learned is we now have data on people. Before, no one really understood data, didn't really know the benefit of it, but everyone buys online. As soon as they buy online, you've got their data, or they pay with card, you've got their data, use it, market them, send them information, send them the specials, send them a voucher code when it's a quiet Tuesday afternoon or whatever, target them, that's fixing a problem. Teach them about staffing, recruiting, maintaining them, learning that you're not going to keep everyone and it's okay for folk to leave, because that used to be a problem for me. I didn't understand that. Why are they not going to stay? You're not going to keep everyone forever, but it's learning how to keep the core people. If you can keep the core people, the business will keep running, and learning how to adapt to people's strengths and weaknesses. Don't put them in a job they don't like, because the end result is they leave. Awards, teach people about awards, key things that they've got to learn about awards. You know, are you giving, the key thing I would always say about awards is when you put an entry in, remember the judges. I learned this when I was trying to win Fish and Chip Shop of the Year. Not everyone knows you. So not everyone knows the basis of your business. And what you take for granted is the basic things in your business the judges might not know. So you might go too technical and too difficult, but forget the basics. The basics need to be in there first, and then the bonuses. Don't make it complicated. Strip it to basic information, but loads of evidence. Lots of people don't put evidence in. They need to make sure high on evidence with value. Everything has to have value and purpose. Okay. Goal setting. So that's crucial in the whole thing. So we create the goals and then we strip it down and then we journal daily. Because if you journal daily, there's massive questions in there. What's the best version? Who's going to get the best version of you today? Send someone a gratitude message. If you send someone a gratitude message, it makes you feel pretty good each morning. As soon as you do it, send someone a gratitude message. It doesn't have to be much. How are you? And then you feel good about yourself. What goes around in life comes back in life. You put down a question. What are you going to do in business today to make it elevate? Are you, without bringing yes or no into play? So like for me, I target people. So any thoughts on Bay on the Road? What questions have you got for me? Ask better questions. Don't make it, would you like to rent the van out today? Hey, you know, the van's available. What kind of things do you want on the menu? Get the questions. Get the questions going between the two of you. We also review every day. So at the end of the day, what worked? What didn't work? What did we learn by the things that didn't work? Because there's things you learn in everything. I said at the start, not winning Fish and Chip Shop of the Year. And that was all to do with customer service. There was no hello, goodbye, thank you, which is basic. So I evaluated it, and then I went in a staff meeting and I said, you know what? I'm taking the blame for this because I haven't actually physically said to you to say hello, goodbye, thank you. So if I strip it back, there was no one to blame but me. But then that was a learning curve. Now we know, so let's move forward. So it's like, you've got to put your hands up. A great book I learned actually from my mentor, and actually, who was it? It was the comedian Russell Kane. That was that thing, one thing with Russell Kane. He's a very, very clever guy. And he told me to read Black Box Thinking book. That is off, I mean, dyslexic, now teaching people to write and read. And I do audible books. That's one of my goals. I've got to do 4 audible books every quarter. And Black Box Thinking, very, very powerful. And it's all about understanding that it's okay to make mistakes. Actually encourage mistakes in your business, because if you make a mistake and you're open about it, we make growth. We learn how to fix a mistake and we can become better for it. But if we hide mistakes, we just keep repeat, reload. It's Groundhog Day. We just keep going back and back and back. And folk hide things. There's uncomfort. Don't shout. Just, accept the mistake and let's move on. So that's a great one. But planning and calendar, people say, I haven't got time to do this, Calum. All right, show me your calendar. And everyone goes, what? Show me your calendar. No one's got anything in their calendar. And I used to go to work every day like a busy fool. And I would say, yeah, I'm flat out. But when I look back now, flat out doing what? Doing everything. So then this is what I teach you. You've got to write down everything you do in your business every day and then create a perfect week. What do you want your perfect week to look like? And what's your week now? How do we make it your perfect week? Who, not how again. Who can we get to make it better for you and easy for you? Delegate the jobs. Okay, it's okay for the job not to be as good as when you do it, because it's still going to be good. There's a fine line. You can't do everything. So it's learning to step back, delegate, and make this perfect week. So if you can create a perfect week, all of a sudden you get more and more productive. Collaborations, learning that collaborating, and especially out with fish and chips, collaborating within the hospitality industry or any industry. So like I learned that from sustainability of, the amount of things I go to, and it's people that have got nothing to do with hospitality, but then all of a sudden you're like, light bulb moment, I could use them for something, or they could use you, or I know someone that could use you. And all of a sudden it came apparent when I was hosting something, they spoke to me, I'm a connector of people, because everyone knows someone. And if you can connect people, it can make life, it's that who, not how again. So basically it's just that I've got the 90-day program. So we try and create a better version of you. And that's the key thing. Be the best version of yourself every day is the motto. One of the things I say. Another powerful quote I say to myself every day is, money flows to me for the greater good of all. You got taught when you were a kid, money doesn't grow on trees. It fucking does. It's paper, or there's an abundance of money, like we're in COVID and the country's still printing money because it's just borrowed. So it's a lie. You've got to tell yourself, think like a millionaire. You've got to tell yourself you're good enough, believe you're good enough, ask better questions of yourself and not put yourself down. So worked up 90 days, and then you can roll into Chef's Table, which is a year program where you carry on with the training. So there's a training module. So it's all online. The training, I drop a training every week for the 90 days, and it's on your own platform. So you can watch it whenever you want. So you don't have to book off a Monday morning to do training. You can do it anytime you want. You just have to make sure you do it in the week. And then you move on to the next training until you complete the 90 days. Then you can move into Chef Table, which is a training every fortnight. So it's a bit more relaxed. You've got the foundations of growth now. Now you can just keep building on it, and it's tailored to what you need. So it's specific to you and your business. And that's basically forked up. So fire it up.
Oh, Sarah, you're on mute.
Oh, well, wow. I was busy there tapping away, making a list of all the kind of key outtakes that came out of that. That was a huge amount to digest there, Calum, but, full marks to you for really using, the way that you have used winning the National Fish and Chip, 2012 actually not winning the National Fish and Chip Shop of the Year as a platform to grow your bay business, but also to grow this brand and yourself as an individual. It's phenomenal. It really is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I've got a question. How much does it cost, Calum?
So what I've done is the 90-day program is £5,000. Okay, but you can pay it monthly. So like I've set it up so it's at ease. But I'll remind you, it's not cost, it's investment. But it's on the right side of tax, so you can write it all off. And invest in yourself on the right side of tax, and it's about growth. So that's what the 90 days is. And then the yearly one, I've got that set at £6,000 at the minute. So it's not a lot more, but you get the full year out of it, because the guts of what you've got to learn in 90 days is a crucial part. But I've got 7 people on the 90 days, and I've got 4 people on the chef's table now already.
Well done, you.
And I only started on the 23rd of January.
Yeah, well, I mean, well done, you. I mean, in terms of an investment, you're right. It is an investment, and if we all kind of should be investing in ourselves. And I know that I have been on some, very fancy training at the Institute of Directors and the London School of London Business School, various other places over the years, and I think you're right. It's if we are running these businesses, you look at the assets that we are running, and we need to be tooled up for that. So
someone posted on something the other day to me. I can't remember what it was. I posted. It might have been one of my Facebook, Instagram posts, and they said it's funny how, because this is open to all hospitality, it's not just fish and chips. They said it's funny how we spend all this money in a frying range, but we don't invest anything in ourselves. And it's so true, because actually the frying range is absolutely no use to you if you're burnt to the ground. It's simple. It's like,
well, yeah, and also you can be the best fryer in the world, you could be the best hairdresser in the world, the best car mechanic in the world, but if you can't run your business, then it's all for nothing, isn't it? Well, and that's what so often happens with entrepreneurs. They go into a business because they're good at something or they love something, but they don't actually have the skills or the training to run a business well.
I spend over £20,000 a year with my mentor, and I don't see that as a cost at all. Initially, I probably would but then if I look at the year and I think, Jesus, look how much I've made and forked up alone. Look how actually much more productive to be on the roads flying. I mean, that'll be over 60 gigs I've got already, for the year. And it's like all because I've changed the way I look at things. So actually, that £20,000 isn't a cost. It's actually made me more money. Yeah,
it's an investment. It's similar to investing, as you were saying, embrace the tech. We bought recently. We bought a machine called Date Code Genie. Yeah. I mean, the amount of labels that we were handwriting all these labels. I mean, it's bloody ridiculous, to be quite honest. Now this machine.
I just had 2 of my forked up clients in working with me, because you get a 1-to-1 day, come and work at the bay or be on the road or both. And they came up, and that's just what I said before. You take for granted some of the things that you've got or you do, right? So like I said that about awards, they came in and they're like, what's this? Shit, we print them tickets on a printer. And I'm like, fuck that, this thing, you know what I mean? And it does more than I use it for. And it's, so it's like, you take for granted what you've got around you because of your growth. So yeah, Date Code Genie is a massive thing. I'm going to get them guys to do a guest training for me. And what I try and do is with the guest trainers, I try and get them to create discounts for people or give them things for free to try and encourage people to become better versions of themselves, really, at the end of the day. Make life easy.
Yeah. It's all an evolution, isn't it? But that, I think that kind of taking that quantum step in terms of looking at yourself as that we are the most valuable assets to our business. Now, when I said it's 23p a minute, if you look at our time, if we look at what we are worth to the business, It's
Yeah,
probably hundreds of pounds a minute.
that was very true what you said. I had a system, it's no use anymore. It was called your system. I had it in the shop maybe 15 years ago, and it measured the gas, electric, and the water on a pulse meter, so it was real time. And I remember I took slush machine out in the evening, because you pause the electric in the shop on this meter, and then you switch on the kit. So I switched on the slush machine, and it was like, fucking hell, is that how much that's costing me to run? So then I was like, right, okay. And then I added the cost of the actual mix that goes in it, and I was like, right, that's gone tonight. That's costing me money to have it running. It's like there's no benefit in that bit of kit. Same as the potatoes. I was looking at this and I'm going, why are we using more water to peel potatoes on a Monday than we are on a Saturday? That makes no logic. And then I started looking at the pattern. It's the member of staff. Okay, so we need to train them more. That's me again. I haven't trained him properly. You know, I went in, the tap's running. So I took the bit of kit, and instead of having the litres, you set it to have pounds. So it knows the value, it knows the equation of the pence per litre. I took it through. The tap's running, I'm going 10 pence, 15 pence, 20 pence, shut the fucking tap off. No pay rise, no pay rise. Taps off, because all of a sudden that's the only monetary value they realise when it affects them. So otherwise they don't care. They're not interested. They don't know what the kilowatt price is. They're not interested in that. They're just worried about the money they get at the end. There's something actually one of you were saying, it might have been you, Sarah, and it was about staff. And I thought, oh, actually it might have been Tiffany. And the thing is with staff, they aren't going to be forever, and we've got to get our heads around that. You know, but you've got to invest in them. You can't. So many fish and chip operators say to me, "Oh, fuck that, they're going to leave anyway." No, because what you want is you want them to stay as long as they can. So they might stay longer. They might stay 2 months longer. So that's a win straight away. They might come back. I said to one of my clients, because they've got someone that started, but they're going to be away in uni. I said, right, take the positive out of everything. Ask them if they'll come back in every holiday period, because then you can give your other staff holidays. Utilise them. That's actually a bigger positive than losing them at the end of summer. Ask them back next summer. Ask them back at Christmas. You know, start investing more time in the staff. You know, we put out, so one of the things we do is we do appraisals, and I used to do it yearly, and it was too technical. We stripped it back and we do it monthly now. Okay, every single month it's automated. It goes out on the system that I've set up. I teach my clients this, put it out automated, because if there's a problem, it's better to find the problem monthly and fix it. 6 months is too long. A year is definitely too long. And also have an exit interview. When someone leaves, get them to do an exit interview, and even if it's just a form, some questions. Because if there's a problem, we can fix it from that. You know, it's hold the hands up. What are they not liking? It might be it's just progression and it's time to leave, but we can learn a lot from every single person. And we've got to, you know, Victoria. So we do the appraisals all the time, but Victoria sent each one of them a text message the other day. I think it was yesterday or the day before it was, and asked them just like, "How are you doing?" Just an open question, a bit like Tiffany's doing. And there were some things came out. There were some things came out that you didn't know about, and you're like, "I didn't put that down in the appraisal form." But it's just about asking better questions, learning that there's utilising what we've got. Like I've started interviewing new staff on Zoom, and that's because of COVID. Because COVID forced me to interview people on Zoom. I interview everyone on Zoom now, because when they come to the shop, it's busy, and it's quite daunting. So they're nervous, especially considering a lot of them are 16-year-olds when they're coming, 17, first job. They're nervous. So let them be in their own environment. Let them be comfy. They're all geeks behind a screen. And it's like the first steps become easy for them. So then you take them into the shop and you can make it a better environment straight away. So we've got a group WhatsApp. So as soon as they've got the job, we put them on WhatsApp, and it's like, welcome. And then everyone welcomes them, and it creates a nice environment before they set foot into the business. It's thinking about, how would you want to feel? How do you want to feel? Or how do you want your kids to feel when they start? Just take that step back in life instead of being right up at the front all the time. Step back and open your vision a little bit more.
What I noticed as well, just going on what Calum just said there, I used to be a primary school teacher, so I noticed that when I was training up team members, they were getting so anxious with the owner, manager standing going, this is how we do this, this is how we do this. So what we've implemented is peer-to-peer training, rather than me standing there and going, oh my God, she's watching me, or my husband or one of our managers. We now do peer-to-peer training. So I train the person that's going to train them. I know that they're passing on the information, but it's coming from one of their peers, rather than me standing watching and it being the whole, like Calum's saying, they're more comfortable, they're in their own, they're used to their own age group, they're used to their own chat, they say things I probably wouldn't say. They're more likely to take positive and negative feedback from one of their own peers, rather than me just going, oh well, I wouldn't do it that way because I'm the owner.
And actually, primary school teaching is quite funny here, because a few years ago I was at a restaurant, one of the famous restaurants in Copenhagen, Michelin star, and it was quite funny because that Nordic places, they're very different. You know, their customer service. Guy comes up to me and he's crouched down next to me, asking me what I want. And I'm like, but it's quite primary school. That's how primary school teachers or nursery teachers are with kids, because it's comforting. So actually, you think about it, it makes sense. Rather than standing on the top, looking down on you normally, what would you like? 2 seconds. They're down here, they're speaking to you. So actually what you're saying is, right, you know, we buddy up, we say to a member of staff, right, someone's joining, you're going to buddy them, and they'll buddy you until they're ready. So this is what I want you to show them. And it's good for that member of staff. They feel elevated, they feel wanted, they feel a sense of power. They feel like, do you know what? They must value me. It's all about value.
And just, sorry, Sarah, just on what Andrew said earlier as well about staff members leaving, what we've done is through networking through the industry, we're based in a small town, so most of our employees will go away for university. So what I started doing was reaching out to other fish and chip shops where they were going. I had some going to Edinburgh, some going to St Andrews. So I was able to say, look, I've got this really good employee. We've trained them up. They're all aware of their food hygiene. Their customer service is fantastic. They've done a lot of frying. Why don't you give them a bash? We had some went out to Edinburgh, ended up working at Alanda's, and then they've came back to ourselves. And it's really good that they're able to do that. And again, they come back with even more information. Oh, well, actually in the shop they did that. Sure. And it is just spreading the knowledge and creating more of a network in the industry.
I'm Amanda. I'm Safety and Wellbeing Manager at Philshill. We're a wholesaler in Glasgow. My history and background, I worked for Sainsbury's for over 20 years initially, then I got into safety part-time, and then I went to work in a consultancy for 3 years, so that really helped broaden my knowledge. And then this opportunity at Philshill came up, so then I've been at Philshill for 3 years this October. So it's been quite a journey. I came just in as a couple of months into the pandemic. And at that point, I realised that, you know, mental health was something we were going to focus on. So speaking to the CEO very early on, Simon, and said, look, I think we should really target mental health and have a look at that. It's something that the business had looked at before, and we had some people in courses, but really what we'll be doing with it in terms of our business strategy and things. So we reached out to everyone in the business and said, look, anyone interested in being a mental health first aider? And we were inundated. So straight away we had 20 people sign up. So that told us what we needed to know at that point. That actually there was a lot of interest in this and a lot of need. So I'll just go on to my next slide just now. So basically how we start all our meetings is, how are you feeling today? And a 1 to 10. We're changing up a little bit. We have 2 words in certain meetings, like for how you feel at home and how you feel at work. That way, as a business and leaders, we're always talking about our own mental health. That actually helps reduce stigma. Now, if you don't want to, you don't have to join in and say, you know, I'm this and whatever reason, you can just be skipped by. But and everyone all bar one right at the start always joins in. And if you see senior leaders in the business saying, you know, I'm actually a 4, it really does help with the stigma. So we've been doing this journey for mental health for nearly 3 years now. And we've still got a bit of work to do with stigma, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. But you can actually see this really helps us. And I really, it's a really simple thing to do, but it means you're always talking about your mental health, and you can implement that in any business. So in Philshell, we've got wellbeing as actually a company objective and KPIs for all our managers. So it's in the main business objective and strategy, and every month, everybody and every manager, and then streamed down to every colleague every year. So every manager every month is a wellbeing objective, and then every colleague is a target once a year. So that could be to go to an event, it could be to do an initiative, it could be just to talk to a colleague. So it is at the heart of our strategy, and it works really, really well because we can go back and look at it and see how well we're doing. So we believe that our retention has improved, and we believe that a lot of that is to do with our wellbeing culture. We've got a lot of happy, engaged people, which obviously we've spoke about this earlier today. That means you're more productive. To date, so this is a number we're really proud of, 196 interventions of support. You think of that number. So as a business, we've helped 196 people in 3 years. Now that tells me again where we're at with mental health across the world, but that's a combination of colleagues, their families, and some customers and suppliers. So a huge number that we're proud of, and it continues to rise. So when we're hitting about 140, it sort of slowed down a little bit, and again we're seeing that rise again. So talk more about the depth and some of the things that we've been doing in a second. But following on from the interventions, what we then do is we look at them and we say, right, what else can we do as a business to support our colleagues? So we get guest speakers in following the interventions, which again I'll come on to in a second. So as part of that as well, I chair the Women in Wholesale Wellness group. That's got over 40 members now. A great environment. We meet every quarter, and in that quarter again we start with how are you feeling on a 1 to 10? What's going well in your business, and the wellness space? What's not going so well? What's the challenge? And what could we be doing better? And what do we need more on? What do we need more information on? So to give you an example, the meeting we've just had there, suicide awareness and prevention has come up. So we are having a webinar on that between now and the next meeting. So again, I arrange all of that, and people, if you want to attend, you can. And all of this is free to the businesses as well. So it's just a way of sharing best practice and supporting each other, which I think is critical in this area. So some of the things we've actually looked at, we've had oddballs come in to look at testicular cancer, because we had a colleague with testicular cancer. So they come into any business size, and they do talks. Some of them could do webinars as well, and online if you've got multiple sites. Breast cancer awareness, and these are all free, incidentally, these ones so far. Dementia awareness, because we had quite a few people and their family members who were really struggling, and how they were to make sure they're okay, make sure your people are okay. Sepsis awareness, and linking that into accidents and incidents, something small as a cut, so you could have that in the fish and chip shops as well, how that could lead into sepsis. And we had 3 people in the business, his family members had died of sepsis, so it was quite an emotive topic. We had a sleep specialist in as well. So, it's looking at your interventions and taking it that step further. So come on to that again. So upcoming, we have neurodiversity. We've got healthy heart. So we've had quite a few people, actually 4, in the past 8 months have had a heart attack in our business, which was it was quite a challenge for all involved, and quite a scary time. So we've decided, we're going to do a healthy heart. We're getting a specialist in to talk about, an expert in to talk about how you can look after yourself and some of the things that you can be doing. So again, it's trying to really support our people. And we've talked about the suicide awareness and intervention. So last September, someone took their own life in our business, and it rocked everyone. We didn't expect, it wasn't on the intervention lists. There was nothing like that. It was just really a shock, which it can be. So we did a full support to the business through our EAP, Employee Assisted Programme, that we use, and Grocery Aid. So, and we have now got an on-site counsellor. So we actually business pay for a counsellor as well. So we've went from, in the past 3 years, to really needing it. And you can see that in the number that we have of people coming forward now. So let me just move down. So we've got both a formal and informal approach. So we've got a wellbeing team, so they all have responsibilities. They've all had their formal training. So we're at 26 mental health first aiders now. We have another 6 going next week, including our CEO. He's getting trained as well. They're all different ages and stages of the business. So, and we feel that's important because, somebody, a young girl might not want to go and speak to her male manager about domestic abuse, perhaps. It's just giving you that opportunity to speak to different people. It works for us. We've got this wellness calendar. I can share it after today because you can't really see it too well, but we basically focus on that. And we base that from the year before. We look at events throughout the year nationally, and we take a lot of the information from that, but also where are we putting it in from our interventions and getting our guest speakers in. There's 6 key elements we focus on. As I say, everyone has got their individual ownership, and they've got a structured path for post-intervention, which I'll talk about as well shortly. Now, one of the big things in intervention that came through with quite a significant amount, either themselves or their family members, was people having cancer. Now, it is touched on at the mental health first aid training, but how do you really deal with that if somebody comes and you're signposting? So when you get mental health first aid trained or awareness, it's all about the signposting, but really when somebody comes to say that's about the language. So it was great. I was on the Women in Wholesale wellness group, and one of the other businesses said, you know, we've got these cancer support ambassadors, and I thought that would really fit with us. And again, it shows the great thing of working together. So we have now got 6 cancer support ambassadors. Again, they meet every quarter, and see that honestly, with somebody recently who had cancer, they've now got the all clear a year later, but we've been through their whole chemo, all their radiotherapy with them, with this support as a business, and they said that they couldn't get through it because they couldn't speak at home. They couldn't talk about at home how they've been getting on. See the pride we've taken in being able to help somebody like that is really in line with our values and as good people, you know. So it's really something really, I'm so proud of that. And again, not our idea, sharing it, getting it from somewhere else. So our key elements that we look at: sleep, exercise, meaningful activity, social connection, helping others, and stress management. So I'll just give a few. Got a lot more on this than we do, but I know we don't have that much time. So, you know, people, under each one, we've got people that will look at that with their area. So some of the things we've done, so the vulnerable blogs are really, really popular. So we had someone who's bipolar in the business, and they wrote about it, very cathartic for them, but really an eye-opener. It's confidential, they didn't put their name on it, but the amount of people that got to read that and thought, wow, and you see their turnaround as well, but how they deal with that on a daily basis is really, really powerful. And avoiding toxic positivity. There's nothing worse than saying, I know, but you know, I've been there, and it's okay. You need to be really, really careful, but you learn that in your training. As I say, we use Grocery Aid a lot. They're an amazing charity that support us, and we've got our counsellor. We had a sleep specialist come in and do a Zoom with our colleagues. Again, we felt like maybe get about 12 people that suffer with sleep issues in the business, and that was great. We do boot camps, so we've got a person in our business who's a gym trainer, and she does that for us. We would do in the car park, we do weekly boot camps, and not so much in the hot weather just now, mind you, but yeah, so that's been really good. We do walks, we've got several walks on there, and one of the things that people were feeling worried about was their own basically self-defense and like watching after themselves when they're walking late at home. So it was raised. So we looked at it. So we gave anybody that wanted a martial arts class at a local centre, and the business paid for that. We provide free fruit every week. It's just a small thing, but that helps and people love it. We do Vegetarian Tuesday, and we provide all the veg and the recipes that people can perhaps use. Again, a small thing. We've got clubs and all that, like a lot of people do, but we always do check-ins, as I said, at the meetings, and people checking in with each other. So we sometimes, probably every other month now, we do a breakfast or lunch catch up. We've got quiz nights. You know, the real big thing, the real important one is knowing everything's confidential, and that when you speak to someone, that it remains that way, unless it's a risk to the business or them as an individual, then we need to look at that, and we always tell people that. In terms of every month though, this came from a colleague, so they said, look, I'm not a mental health first aider, but I'd really like to help, and we've been talking, and we think if we had a meeting once a month, just like to talk about our wellbeing, and maybe a mental health first aider could attend, it'd be really good. So yeah, we started that last month. So we meet every Thursday, the first Thursday in the month, and we talk about mental health and just how we're doing in general. And the amount of people in different ages that I've seen attend, that's pretty good, and that's came from the colleagues. Again, it's showing how that stigma is reducing, so really, really positive. I'll try and move this over. So mindfulness courses. So we provide them for our staff. We actually have a Reiki person that does Reiki and relaxation, one of our colleagues. So she does that for free for staff. You book in with her. We spend a lot of time out. We've now got new wildflowers outside, and I encourage people to spend time out there. We've already spoke about our cancer support ambassadors, and basically just other bits and pieces, like, you know, about trying to make yourself smile, find something that's funny. But yeah, that's just a really quick quote. There's lots of other things we do in that. But what have our learnings been? So with quite a lot, to be honest. So regular check-ins doesn't have to be with a mental health first aider. It can be with MD, but you need to be trained to signpost. However, the amount of people that are now asking how each other are, we're really seeing that now. As I say, we're 3 years in though. At first, we were trying to boil the ocean. We were trying to do too much. Everybody had an idea for what we were going to do. And it was too overwhelming. So now we break it down very structured into our calendar, into our who's doing what, but involving more people now, what I'm seeing, which really is improving the culture of the business. The intervention types that we've had, so we've had quite a lot. So we've had self-harm, we've had domestic abuse, we've had bereavement, eating disorders, bipolar, youth mental health, suicide, anxiety, sleep and cancer, probably the main ones. In terms of the youth mental health, so through the pandemic, we used a service called CUTH through Grocery Aid. And somebody came to me and says, look, I'm really, really struggling about my daughter. They've got no friends at all. They're just in their room. They're really, really low. So we got them into this group forum, and now they've actually met up with the person. So they've got friends now in that loneliness combat, and honestly, brilliant. We had someone as well who was really struggling. You could notice it in their work, and they wouldn't come forward for help. So we approached them, said, everything okay? We're here when you need. So eventually we could see other people getting support, and they came forward. And it actually turns out it was only them and their dog. They'd lost their brother to suicide the year before. They were really struggling. And then they opened up about an absolute something that happened when they were younger to them. The police were all involved. And they said, you know what, they went home, they get financial support. So we actually do financial seminars as well. We give everybody budget planners, all that through. There's a charity, Money Matters, that help. So we try and signpost that way as well. But basically, this person said to the dog, we went home and said to his dog, we're okay now because we've got help. But it took months for him to come forward, as I say, or us approach him, and for him to feel safe enough that he could come to us. But you know what, we find that with our regular check-ins, you know, you can signpost. So what's really important after signposting for us, we see a lot of businesses that will use mental health and they'll sign up, and that's fantastic, but they don't take it that next step. So for us, we'll always check in with the person again. It's a lot of work, but we always do it. So we'll say 2 weeks later, no, you don't need to tell me your business. I just want to check you are okay. Sometimes you'll find they've not phoned the number. We had one lady with an eating disorder, and it took her 6 months to phone. And then she says, Amanda, I've done it now and I'm so happy. It's got to be when they're ready. They've got to want to do it. But if you've done your signposting, you might never know if they've phoned, they could still be struggling. So something we do takes a lot of business time. I feel it really adds value. And it, we have had recognition. We've won quite a lot of awards. But for us, that's great. And it is really good. And one of the ones was the best in Glasgow for mental health when it first came out in last year. And that was excellent. That was great, because you can go back to the mental health first aiders and say, look, well done. Look at this has been recognised. But for us, it's the support and the people. It makes us really proud that we're a business that does that. And if you look after your people, they've got to be the ones looked after first, and their families. It just makes such a difference, we find. But you've got to think of them as well. You've got to think of your mental health first aiders, the vicarious trauma. So some of these things we're dealing with, once you start opening it up, are really challenging. So I personally struggled with it at the start. I'm in a much better place now, but I went home and I couldn't stop thinking about these people, and I just couldn't deal with it. But I didn't say anything. I just, this is great what we're doing in the business, and I couldn't stop thinking. I couldn't worry about it. I couldn't stop worrying about it. Spoke to our CEO Simon, and he was great. We're going to need to try, but he worries as well. We all worry because we care about each other. However, it was a mental health first aider said, I'm really struggling, Amanda, with this, because one of the situations they had been dealing with was domestic abuse. And I thought at that point, no, wait a minute, we need to do something. So there is training for their first aiders, and we've put them on that, vicarious trauma. And I must admit, it's things that seem dead straightforward, but actually until you really look at it and maybe take time for yourself, like what you were saying earlier, it's really important. So I did that, and I'm much better now. I know how to, I'll never stop caring about them. I'm probably not stop worrying, but you know, I can manage it better, and I'm okay with that. I think the informal structure that we have, like, so it's corridor conversations, like going up and talking to people. It's not come for a meeting, it's very casual. We drop everything though. If it's in wellbeing within reason, we drop it. If it can't wait, we risk rate it on a red, green, amber, and then we see who they want to speak to on that list. Sometimes it's not possible. They might need to wait for that person if they're out on the road, because we'll get some people at our sales teams as well. But generally speaking, they can see them pretty much straight away, or if they pick someone else. We use wellbeing as our unique selling point because it is something that we really do feel that we embrace well. But as I say, don't boil the ocean, have fun and be proud of it. And the biggest thing I think I've taken from it is the sharing best practice. Now, we do that through the Women in Wholesale. I also have lots of cross-sector groups. So that we meet up every quarter and we talk about all different what we're doing in our business with wellbeing. You don't have to be a big business. We've got 230 staff. All these things that I've spoke about can be adopted in smaller businesses and larger businesses. And some of the people in the cross-sector groups are small. I sometimes do one-to-ones as well if anybody wants to have one to look at what we're doing or share ideas. Or if you want to after this, I'm more than happy to connect with MD and we can have a call. I did 2 last week with 2 businesses. One was wholesale, one was not. And it is great because you'll go away going, never thought of that, and you share ideas together. The power in that for me is the biggest learning that we've taken. And that's all I've got. So I'll stop sharing this. If there's any questions.
Calum has a question.
Well, it's kind of a question. What I was thinking there, my take home from it was, this problem's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better, right? Because the way the world is now, it does people and what goes on behind closed doors. It's like you can't judge a book by its cover. It's definite, and it's highlighted what you're saying, and Tiffany, by saying what is going on. You know, and I've experienced this. We had a guy start for us last week in a trial shift, and he had to go to the toilet, and he said, I need to go to the toilet at 6 o'clock because I've got ADHD. I didn't tell anyone, and I need to take my tablets. I'm feeling a bit anxious. So staff told me, and then I messaged and said, yeah, it's not a problem. We've had loads of folk in this shop, they've got problems. Everyone's got a problem. Don't need to worry about it. But me and Victoria said, like, we're going to stick with it. We'll give him another couple of goes. You know, it hasn't worked out, but we gave him another chance and another chance after that, because that's what you need. Everyone needs a chance, you know, and it's not always going to happen straight away. But Victoria highlighted something. She said, Calum, look at the amount of kids and my kids that have got problems. It's only going to get worse. Everyone's got a label now, right? Rightly or wrongly, it doesn't matter, but it's going to get worse. So we need to be armed with the ammunition around us to help these people, because it ain't going away. So we need to adapt. We need to do what you're saying. We need to take parts of that, whether all of it or bits of it, and adapt it into our businesses. Because even just to, like I said in mine, asking people how they are.
Yeah.
You know, just one little thing can make a difference to someone, and just to be there for someone is a big thing. Hold their hand if they need help. You know, if they need to go see a counsellor or go to the police, be there for them. That's confidential. They've got to have a bit of trust in you. Yeah. So I dip my hat to you. What you do is amazing. Well done.
No, thank you. Tiffany, I really liked what you've implemented. I think that's definitely leading the way in what you're doing. Actually, I think it's amazing, and I think you'll see a lot more growth from that. And I love the idea that you said about sharing best practice on that with the rest of your industry, because, you know, and I thought you actually went above and beyond by going with that person. So well done. I think that was really inspiring, and I think if others can do it, if you can do that and use that example, I think it's brilliant. So it's really great to see that. So well done.
Thank you very much. And I love what you guys have been doing. It's obviously what I am hoping to implement now that I've kind of been made aware that, like Calum saying, everybody has issues. Everyone has something going on. We had a young boy come down for a job interview for his first job who suffered from Asperger's, and he kind of openly said, look, I don't read social cues well, so I don't know how I'd be in a customer service role, but in terms of being pinpoint, everything I do properly. So if you put me in a role where give me box ticking and I'll do it, then I'll do it. And I actually said to him, I said, look, why don't we try you on salt and vinegar today? And I said, it's just making sure every customer has exactly what they want, and it's box ticking, and it'll give you a wee taste of customer service without having to be too hands-on. And he's actually the best salt and vinegar person I've ever had. And it is just a small role, but he's so focused at it. He'll say, every customer, do you need a fork? Do you need a napkin? Would you like salt? Would you like vinegar? Would you like sauce? Can I get a bag for you? He doesn't forget a single item, and it is just tuning into everybody's best parts. I could have easily went, oh, I don't know, it's very customer service based, and if you don't read social cues, we'll stick you up the back. But instead, he's ahead of front, he's dealing with every single customer, and he loves it. He's so focused, he's so full on, and it's great. It's great for him because it's developing his social skills, but it's also great for us because I know that he's always going to ask every customer every single question, albeit some of the customers go, no thanks, and he'll be like, are you definitely sure you don't want sauce with that? And it's finding everybody's best parts. Yeah,
I think that's brilliant, and I think if more businesses did that, it would definitely help their business as well, and by doing the right thing. So we've had quite a few neurodivergent people in our business. That's why we've got that upcoming seminar, because some of the managers didn't, in my opinion, not that they didn't do it right, but they struggled with, using what you did there. You used the process of let's try salt and vinegar. It's about getting them to think differently, not about not accepting who people are. And I think that's a big important thing that we need to look at. So we've put that as a training. So that this person, again, they're coming in to do it for free for us. We do pay for some things, but quite a lot. But a lot of things are out there for businesses, and it's just knowing what they are. But if you do mental health first aid training, you get a lot of these lists and information, but I'm happy to share anything. We've got quite a lot of contacts if anything ever comes up in your business that you need help with.
Thank you very much.
Training's crucial there, because like what you say, managers, I was speaking to someone, I was at a guest speaker I had, and he said, the problem with a lot of folk is they could be the best salespeople, and then you move them into managerial posts and they're crap. They can't handle people because they've not had any training. So you've got to remember, no matter what you're doing or where you're putting them, you need to train them. You can't expect people to know. And as business owners, we again have to put our hands up and say, do you know what? They're not going to be like us. They're not going to think like us because we're business owners. That's why we're business owners. So don't expect everyone to be the same as you. So you need to have that step back and evaluate and help people. It's crucial.